It's been quite a long time since I've made a video, but I thought I'd give you a look at a snippet roll. This is the first one I've ever made, and I used Nick the Booksmith's, I think she calls it a dirty snippet roll technique or whatever. What I'll do is I'll post a link down the bottom of my video to her tutorial so you can see how she does it. So basically this is my snippet roll, and I used a lot of sort of old vintage sheets and fabrics at the base, and then what I did is I've layered lots of pieces of lace on top, and then finally embellished with things like these vintage yo-yos and buttons and pieces of embroidery. Okay, you can see I've done some little stitching of strips of fabric and just gathered it up. There's some rick-rack, different trims. It's the kind of thing that it's quite fun to play with, and it's hard to know when to stop embellishing. So just to give you a look, I fussy cut flowers from fabric. There's some, different types of cotton trims, laces, crochet trims. Some of them are new, but most of what I've put on here is vintage, reclaimed, cut off old garments, that kind of thing. And then button embellishments, lots of yo-yos. They're all old ones that have been reclaimed off old quilts and cushions. That pink trim there, I avocado dyed that. It was an old one and I avocado dyed it. I've done a little bit of embellishing with some stitching with just some stranded cotton. A few of those sort of laces, ribbons there, like that blue one. They're newer ones, I think. I don't think they were old. But then a lot of these lacy ones are ones that I've bought that have been reclaimed or repurposed. It's a really fun and easy technique. Like I said, I could have kept embellishing. There's another piece of avocado dyed trim. But that's the end. Where is it coming into frame? It's long. There's the end there. So look, I don't know exactly how long it is. I'd say you're probably looking at sort of 2 to 3 meters there. I haven't measured it, probably 2 and a bit meters. But I'm definitely going to make some more. So I'll show you one that I've started. So that's the first one. And it is, just in case you're wondering, it would be approximately 1.5 inches to 1 inch and 3/4 wide. So this is one that I've started. So if you look at Nick's tutorial, she makes a big sheet of lace and fabric and stuff like that. And so all I've done is I've just sewed across it in lines. Sorry, I'm very zoomed in on this camera here. I can see that. So I've made a big sheet. I'm going to cut this one at 1.5 inches. It'll give me lots of strips, and then you join them together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and then I'll come back. Hi, I'm back. So I've cut my my big sheet into 1.5 inch strips. I've got 8 of them. And now, as you'll see on Nick the Booksmith's tutorial, what I'll do is I'll be joining them. So I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll get back to you. You don't want to see me sewing, that's a bit boring. But also this other one that I made and showed you a minute ago is actually 2 inches wide. So the one I'm making now is smaller. Okay, so I'll sew it together, then I'll show you how I add more to it. See you soon. Bye. Alright, so I've stitched all the strips together. I've measured this one. It's actually about 3.3 meters long. Sorry, I don't know the yards conversion. So what I do now is I'll embellish, and I'll just show you. This one I was aiming to do sort of Easter sort of colours, because I've got some Easter journals that I want to stick this in. So what I've pulled together is this little basket of goodies to go with it. So I'm going to just show you some of the things that I can use to embellish. So we've got some different types of trims. I've pulled out lots of bits of rickrack. I've got this really nice, I've got quite a few of these. They're hand dyed rickracks in nice pretty colours and different widths. They look a bit brighter on screen. They're a little bit more pastel in real life. So I've got lots of bits and pieces. I've fussy cut some bits and pieces of fabric that I'm going to stitch in. I thought these were sort of Eastery colours, and some of them are good little Easter images. So I've got some rabbits, and I've got little bits of embroidery. I need to iron this one. It's a little bunny. Not sure if you can see that properly. And then I've fussy cut some bits of flowers from fabrics. I've got some of the vintage yo-yos that I used on the other one. More bits of trim, little rabbits that have come off fabric. These are hand dyed little, I guess they're kind of like crochet doilies. Some more avocado dyed trim, fussy cut flowers, yo-yos, little bits of Liberty flowers, etc. Then what I've got is I'm going to use some strips, that's old sheeting, strips of fabric, to do some embellishment. And then I have, I'm getting there, my basket is full of stuff. I may not get all this on, there's a lot of stuff here. I've got some pretty little daisies that have come off a trim that I've had for a long time. And then a bit more lace in my rope basket. Excuse my rope basket, my dirty old basket. And then I'll add lots of light pretty little buttons as well. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll stitch some of it on, and I'll show you what it looks like when I come back. Okay, bye. Hi, so I'm back again. So what I've done now is I've stitched on some of the embellishments. Now these are all machine stitched. So what I did is I glue basted little things like the bunnies and the pickle jar and things like that on with this Roxanne's glue basted. It's a temporary basting thing that you use in quilting. It's got a very fine nozzle, and all I did was put a few little dots on the back of each little piece, and then I've stitched across back and forward, trying to make sure that I capture near the top and near the bottom. Okay, so you can see there'll be bits of string and stuff that I'll have to cut off more later. The rickrack, I just made sure I went through the middle. Bits like the little ribbon trim, etc. So what I will do now is I have further embellishments that I'll add on. So things like little lace, I might add some to hang off the sides. Even with something like this, I might actually stitch it underneath. So if I put it there, just move this out of the way, and I might stitch that underneath so it runs along the edge, bits and pieces like that. So that'll be machine stitched as well. And then the types of things that I will hand stitch on will be things like the yo-yos. Okay, so I might place there and hand stitch. Also things like the little crocheted embellishments, like the little doilies, things like the little daisies, and then I will do some hand stitching in sort of stranded thread, and then also stitch on buttons. So what I'll do now is I'll go away again, I'll do some embellishing with all these little bits and pieces, and I'll get back to you when I'm done. Okay, bye.